I mean,
Yeah, let's go. We're live.
let's go! Woo!
Whew, that was
Yes.
loud. God damn. I,
Yeah,
I,
I
I
don't
haven't
have the
seen you in a
mic
day.
controls.
I haven't seen you
It's
in a
been a
day or two. I forgot how loud you are.
man. It's been a good minute, bro. A good minute. But I'm over here at a conference in Florida, kicking ass, taking names. Um, basically, it's meetings with large retailers, and so I'm here with Mike Rashid, Sean Torbati, and our president of Ambrosia. His name is Adam, and we've met with the biggest all the big retailers that you've ever heard of. We've met with them, 20-minute meetings, back to back to back, starts at 8 a.m., ends at like 6. And last night we were in meetings till 10 p.m.
Yeah,
It's been a hell of a ride, and expect to see Ambrosia, Planta, and all that good stuff everywhere, bro. Everywhere. We're absolutely
that's
crushing it,
awesome.
kicking ass, taking names. The
I
Planta
love to
bar
hear
has
it.
been very well received. Got the Planta bar right here.
Hell yeah.
So these are for
Delicious, by the
me.
way.
Yeah, dude. I didn't eat today till 6 o'clock. We were just straight. Just didn't have time to eat. Just crazy.
Damn.
It was good though. It was good. Got a good work. Still got a workout in this morning. How's your day, brother?
I got a really good leg workout in the day. Like really, really, really good leg workout in the day. Like to the point where uh, I was a little like my legs were a little jittery in the afternoon. Like it's because I changed some stuff up. I changed up. I shortened all my rest times by about 30 seconds, and it's just by the end I was just going at it. But besides that, made a bunch of content today, did a bunch of lives, talked to a bunch of clients. The normal stuff.
Yeah, man.
Feel
I
really
did
good.
legs when I did legs when I landed on Sunday, and they only had a Smith machine, so I did squats on it. Load that bitch up with weight, and I'm not used to Smith machine squats, and my legs to this day they hurt. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this is real. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm making this is a resort. So like they have two gyms. The first one I use like a smaller, more compact. The other one's like a gym. It's like a planet. It
Mhm.
doesn't have like squat racks. Has two Smith machines, a bunch of selectorized equipment, some plate loaded
That's
equipment. So it's
nice.
it's it's really yeah. So I was able, I'm in there at 4:30 a.m. just getting it in before the day starts, and then I just kick ass all day. It's been awesome. It's been what an experience. What feedback and I mean we got Kinetic up in here. Obviously, you know we met with some people that we already carry our products. Some of our distributors, some of our retailers. It's just been crazy. Where the day just flies by. Then I get back here at night, like last night, and I had to. I try to get all like I collect business, even though most people don't have business cards. What I do is I collect business cards and I use these for
Mhm.
my follow ups. So I try to get my customer email and follow ups done immediately. So I'm the first one in their inbox,
Mhm.
and it's a good old sales tactic. Um, it's all about customer service and
It's
being the most
initiative.
attentive person you can. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
been I love this shit. Like this is probably the best business trip I've been on in years. Just the amount of work and just presenting the same thing over and over to different people with different angles. It
Mhm.
kind of you refine it as you go, and it actually enhances you. So I literally had a crash course where I'm presenting for 12 hours a day. So me as a public speaker, as a presenter, as a salesperson, it elevates my game. So I basically had a 3-day workshop of how to present and sell shit that gets better and better every time we present.
It's awesome, dude. It's so
It's been
so
good.
proud of you guys, man. And I appreciate you guys growing the Ambrosia brand because that helps it directly helps me out too, and I appreciate that more than words can possibly ever know.
Well,
So
a lot of no morbidity has been moved today, and a lot of good relationships to move more and more
yeah,
and more. And there's
I,
so what's hot in the market. This is something we could probably segue to. Um, is that the GLP-1s, the Ozempics,
Yeah.
the semaglutide, whatever. I can't pronounce it. So anyway, those are hot. Where GNC and Vitamin Shop are actually come out with semaglutide sections. So what's happening is there's two things they're looking for. One is hydration and muscle preservation because you're
Mm-hmm.
going to lose muscle because you're not eating. So
Yep.
hydroglyph is perfect for semaglutide and Ozempic users because not only does it provide the hydration, so the electrolytes, it also has BCAA, EAA to prevent muscle loss, provide amino acids
Mm-hmm.
without filling them up because these people are nauseous, they have gastroparesis, they feel terrible. It's one of the reasons they can't eat. But it also has
Mm-hmm.
HMB, which is scientifically proven to prevent catabolic actions in the body, so it prevents muscle wasting. Velocitol, which doubles the power of those amino acids. So I mean,
Right.
we have this whole entire formula that really complements it. But then what they're looking at is what about when the people come off the GLP-1s? And that's
Mm-hmm.
where the Holy Trinity stack comes in because you have alchemy, no morbidity, and ember. So ember, you take it in the morning. It's a scored tablet in case you
Yep.
want to split it up due to the little bit of caffeine in it. Alchemy during the day, control blood sugar and cravings. No morbidity at night. That also prevents binging at night. It prevents overeating the next day. And it activates a protein in your body that helps you burn more fat while you sleep. So, I mean, honestly, with GLP-1s blowing up, we're actually the perfect complement
Yes.
to that market. And, we noticed a lot of great feedback on Planta. You're going to see us in bigger and better stores. You're going to see us in your local pharmacies, your local drugstores, your large drugstore chains. You're going to see us in department stores, on their internet sites. You're going to see it in so many places you didn't expect to see it. Small grocery stores, small grocery chains. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we doubled our wholesale sales this week.
That's fucking awesome, dude. That's
Yeah.
outstanding. I was a little earlier. I'm gonna start doing like on my fitness lives. I'm gonna start doing a study a day live.
Yes, that's
Um,
perfect.
and I broke down today um, the difference between metformin and berberine,
Mm.
and it's kind of shocking. Like I mean, the audience had no idea the effectiveness of berberine, and like on many clinical studies, it is more effective, especially for women with PCOS, than metformin, and it just happens to be one of the key ingredients that's in alchemy already. And
Yeah.
I'm going to keep pushing every single day. I'm going to do a study a day, plus the other stuff, because I just think we're at a stage where, if all goes well this November, Make America Healthy Again will be a huge, huge, huge push. And we just need people to be
Mhm.
prepared for what they can do both with the pharmaceutical industry and without the pharmaceutical industry. I think it's going
Yep.
to be a very interesting time if it goes well.
And by the
Which
way,
is,
if you're watching this and you heard my spiel, you're like, what the hell are those products all about? Go to ambrosiacollective.com. That's ambrosiacollective.com. Just like on my shirt. Oops, wrong side. It's mirrored. I'm like, that's the wrong titty.
yeah.
And type in coupon code evening rants. That is just like our name. One word, evening rants gets 10% off the entire site. If you have a Sprouts near you, they carry Planta, they carry Kinetic, they carry Nectar, which is our basically our superfood. 13 ingredients that help with lung, kidney, heart,
Mhm.
liver. So you have that. And also you have the Holy Trinity stack, which, by the way, two of those products, No Morbidity and Alchemy, that's where Alan makes most of his money. So go ahead
Cool.
and, yeah, no matter where you
Oh,
buy No Morbidity and Alchemy, Alan's getting the bag and we're
yeah.
good.
I
And
also
we
did want
want
to
to
say
support
though,
Alan,
yeah, I appreciate you, bro. But I also did want to tell people
even though he
I was
hates
having a,
Jews.
yeah, I'm a horrible Jew hater. You know it, absolutely. You know who else I can't stand? Iranians and black people. That's I fucking can't. Jews, Iranian, and black people. They're the three people the most in the world I
Same,
can't fucking stand. It's just weird that
same.
my business partners are all three of those. But hey, I
I
was
can't
having
stand
some
them
issue.
either.
I was having some issue with my sciatic. Just I think it was some inflammation, and I would not have been able to do my leg day today if I did not use Golden. Like if
Hmm.
you are going to get if you want an anti-inflammatory that's not an NSAID, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are horrible for your digestive tract. Absolutely horrible for your gut. It destroys your gut biome, everything like that. Golden is especially ambrosia. Golden it is turmeric that is accepted by the body very, very, very well. Dude, I took it this morning thinking like this leg day is going to suck and I'm barely going to be able to walk afterwards. Man, after about an hour, my inflammation just was gone. like
Can
just
I
gone. So
place? Hopefully my computer isn't tripping. I put a lot of files on it. I'm gonna play something really dope right now for y'all.
One killer in this country is heart disease. One of the main ways that we get it is cholesterol. The way it's typically treated is with pharmaceutical drugs called statins. They may lower your cholesterol and control it, but they also give you crazy side effects. It's called the cholesterol conspiracy. Just a government conspiracy lying to the public to ban the use of natural herbs and plants so that big pharma can make synthetic versions to make lots of money. The particular conspiracy that we're talking about today affects 2 out of 5 Americans every single day. The Ambrosia Collective, we give solutions. And in Nectar Superfoods, one of the main ingredients is a very powerful plant that can mimic the cholesterol controlling effects of statin drugs. That plant is called red yeast rice. Maybe you heard of it, but if you haven't, I'm gonna put you up on game. This plant is so powerful, the entire pharmaceutical industry band together to push for it to be removed off the market, and they succeeded for a few years. However, the natural product community pushed back so strong that red yeast rice had to be reinstated. But in the meantime, cholesterol controlling drugs and all of its side effects are at an all-time high. There's a pharmaceutical machine that has so much money and power. You rarely hear about these powerful and effective natural options like red yeast rice. Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm letting you know that the ingredient is once again available. However, the source of this ingredient is very important. How it's processed will determine how effective it is in your body. But here at the Ambrosia Collective, we take health and wellness very seriously. And for this reason, since 2016, we produce a product containing red yeast rice called Nectar. If you're an adult over the age of 30, I highly recommend this product to you. Red yeast rice is only one of 13 powerful ingredients designed to optimize the health of your liver, lungs, heart.
I actually got another cool one. This one was the one I was talking about too. Like, check this out. So I'm gonna share my screen. This one is dope. Another mic one.
He has a slogan that I love. What is it, Khaled?
He said, "We the best."
But us being the best is not subjective. It's a matter of fact. I want to prove it to you right now with Golden, which is our super turmeric. We picked this turmeric up today, and this is the most expensive turmeric you can buy. I'm going to tell you that this turmeric is not as good as Golden. And like I said, Golden is not turmeric, it's super turmeric. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm not just gonna make claims, I wanna show it to you. We're gonna do a challenge, a turmeric challenge. All right, so I'll take this guy right here, go into the water, just swallowed it, and let's see how much of it the body is absorbing. We'll do the same with Golden.
I did the same video. I don't look nearly as cool as Mike does.
Absorbed.
it's hard to look as cool as Mike.
I
don't
think it's possible.
I'm not gonna.
I don't think it's possible.
Not for me.
He's gonna sit back. When I sit back, I don't look cool like that.
Your eyes do not deceive you. You know what the benefits of turmeric is. Anti-inflammatory, weight loss, cardiovascular, the list goes on and on. Why think you're putting something powerful in your body when you can actually do it? I'm proving it to you right here. Go to ambrosiacollective.com, get yourself some Golden super turmeric. Big shout out to my boy Khaled.
So I just wanted to play that really quick in the spirit of Ambrosia. So the debate,
To bounce off that real quick, what Mike was talking about, I wanted to share this real quick because this was crazy. They are suggesting, whoop, where'd you go? There it is.
Oh, I saw this.
They are suggesting that kids as young as 15 years old get prescribed statins.
It's fucking mad, bro.
So these kids are never going to reach sexual maturity. Right? I mean,
no. What the fuck?
15?
Like, what the actual fuck?
Maybe we should just have them not be fat as fuck. You know, like it's so bad. They're going after the kids, man. Like they're prescribing GLP-1s to kids as young as 12.
Hey, bro, I have a question for you. We've yet to talk about this. So that Tyreek Hill situation, you saw that?
Yeah, I did.
So look, man. I mean, bro, the cops overreacted, homie. That was. Look, man. He should have complied, right? He should have rolled up his window. But I thought the whole point of the cops were to de-escalate. This was not de-escalation, my friend. This was straight up like they were trying to find a way to fuck this guy up. And there was no need. Now you got to realize, so he got slammed on the pavement in Florida. Alan, I'm in Florida right now. You lived in Florida. How hot was that pavement in Miami when it's 92 degrees out?
Oh, it's like 150 degrees.
And there's a man, like, I don't know. Here's the problem. The vote blue no matter who, folks. And I'm be real, y'all. Like, I love cops. I think the cops in Brentwood, Tennessee are some of the best cops. They're the best cops in the world. I support our police department. But back the blue no matter who is absolutely ridiculous, especially what they did to us, you know, as police officers during 2020. They shut down They shut down businesses. They basically go by orders. Now, you can't convince me that this is the way you do things, especially when he's already out of the car. There was no need to assert dominance. There was no need to put him on the ground. Right here, he's right here. Okay, he was kind of a dickhead. They didn't have to put him down. Stand him up. It's 3v1. Handcuff him. Oh, he's a big man. Dude, there's three of you. You didn't need to slam him to the ground. If you don't know he's Tyreek Hill, you don't belong living in Miami. Like this, well, and they know with the body cams, they're about to get internet served.
Well, I would check to see if any of these people sports gamble. You know, I mean, like, I really would. But here, dude, I think you already know my take on stuff like this, right? What did they pull this man over for?
For speed, he was going 100. Allegedly, I think he was going 125. So he was definitely. I mean, assuming that's correct. And again, look, man, I want to see that radar. Like, I want to see it. Like, I don't trust police officers, bro. I don't trust them anymore, especially what they did during 2020. And the thing is, the problem is after what they did during January 6th, after what they did. So he was cited for speeding. Oh, it was 60 miles per hour. It wasn't even that fast. He was going 60 miles an hour. So here's the deal, man. These cops need to lose their job. That's not how you de-escalate a situation. They literally did everything they could to escalate it.
It's certainly not going to help in future events.
Kimberly. I don't think they knew it was Tyreek Hill because they knew they're going to lose their jobs. Dolphins came out with a statement saying, yo, y'all need to fire these guys, basically, in other terms. Look, these cops need to go. Cops like this who can't control their temper need to go. People are like, you don't know what it's like to go through what they go through. Yeah, but I'm not a cop. That's your job. Like, so that's like saying if a teacher gets mad at my child in class, they're allowed to strike them. Like, that's a retarded fucking statement. I'm sorry. You guys, you conservatives, you back the blue no matter who after 2020. Look, back the blue. But when the blue fucks up, it is, if you really back the blue, you need to call the blue out for doing this shit because it's making everybody look bad. Now they're like, oh, this is what will happen if Trump's elected. That's the problem. You know, the problem is even Dominic Izzo, he had a good piece, our boy Izzo, on that.
Yeah. Well, Miami is not, Miami's Democrat, isn't it?
Yes. So here's the thing, though. Izzo was like, dude, he's like, they did this because he is a N-word in a fancy car. Mm-hmm. That's why they did it. And I'm not going to lie. Like, would they have done this to a white person? Maybe. I don't care. Like, look, man, I know people get mad at me for stating the obvious, for not picking teams. But at the end of the day, life is about optics. Mm-hmm. It's about optics, okay? So when you're in a situation where you know you're going to be filmed and you have the opportunity to hit or not hit a very famous, very loved black guy, and you're a police officer, you need to understand that you're not coming out on the right side of history. Even if you do think it was justified, they did not have to take it that far. They did not have. So Stephen A. Smith, who I think is a complete blowhard, he actually had a great take on it. You know, they arrested that golfer the other few weeks ago, remember? He was arrested before like a PGA Tour for like driving past an accident or something. They put him in cuffs. It's not about Tyreek Hill being put in cuffs. It's about him being slammed to the pavement. And for once in my life, I agree with Stephen A. Smith. Yo, they didn't need to slam him to the ground. It was, what's unfortunate is that, you know what? You know who this is going to hurt the most? The good cops. Like
Yeah, the
what
good cops are fucked over this.
the damage they did to good police officers today. I mean, this is akin to the Rodney King shit. I ain't gonna lie. Like it's at that situation where they had to know everyone has a camera phone. They had to know they're wearing body cam. They just have to know. So
What they got so they were saying they got so aggressive because he was talking back.
yeah,
Like,
well, so apparently
you should be like
windows.
just it's not illegal to talk shit to the cops.
So apparently they got upset because he rolled up the window when they were talking to him. Okay. And then once he was out of the car, he was out of the vehicle. There were three men. He was not fighting back. All they had to do is be like, put your hands behind your back, bro. And or at least try that before slamming him to the ground. And if they didn't know he was tree kill, that's sad. If they did know that's tree kill, that's just stupid. Kimberly says, I think they overreacted. Tyreek was acting like a dick, but I don't think you need to throw him on the ground. So why do I need to respect police officers? What have they done to earn my respect? I'll respect police officers who show me. So you give back what you get, right? So if someone is respecting me, I'm going to show them equal to or greater than respect. If someone is disrespecting me and doing something that I think is and being, belligerent towards me, I'm going to respond in kind. So look, man, I'm the last guy to cry racism, this, that, and the third. I do believe some systemic shit goes on, but I think that's more based on economic status than anything. Explain OJ Simpson, right? However, in this direct case, there is no way. And dude, the conservatives are going off at me. Like they're mad because I'm like, I think the cops, and people are like, no, this is right. But some people are like, nah, he was speeding and he should have just complied, unroll the window, comply. So just like 2020, these are the same conservatards who go and they're like, oh, well, in 2020, we should have not complied. So if the cop goes to shut down my business during a fake pandemic, am I supposed to just comply? We're supposed to comply with everything the cops do. I just don't understand the brains of these fucking partisan hacks on both sides. And of course, the Democrats are like, this is Trump's America. And I'm like, he's not in office.
Yeah,
that's not
so
Trump's
fucking
America. This is literally
so
Biden's
ridiculous.
America. It's everybody's stupid. Nobody has any nuance. Nobody can fucking think for themselves. Nobody can fucking critically think. Can we just all agree they didn't need to slam him to the ground? That's all I ask. Look, should he have been put in cuffs? Sure. He was speeding. Yeah. Okay, fine. Put him in cuffs. But slamming him to the ground, that was the biggest little dick power play I've ever seen in my life. They put on their little badges, they put on their little uniform, and they think they're the fucking rulers of the world, shutting down small businesses. And this is not directed at all cops. Again, Brentwood, Franklin, y'all get everything I say is not applying to my community because they didn't do that shit. Other communities did. I personally saw them not do that shit. But these motherfuckers, these back the blue no matter who's, I mean, y'all need to be slapped.
Well, there's never a no matter who situation. Never. I know this is hard to understand, but the police take an oath, like police, state troopers, everybody, they take an oath to the Constitution to protect our rights, not the law. And I just think that there's like too much shit is considered illegal, like that the police can get involved in your life about, and out of this situation, I agree. He probably should, if he was, especially if it was a 20-mile-an-hour zone, if it was a school zone or something like that, of course, because that's endangerment. But there's no law that says you need to wind your window down the whole fucking way. That's if a cop ever says that to you, you don't have to. As long as you have it open enough where they can hear you and you can hear them, you're good. Like you don't have to get out of your car unless they have a warrant. There's no I don't understand what catalyzed it besides like if he was speeding in a school zone, I can see, and if he was being a dick, I can see them, not being happy, but it's not illegal to be an asshole. I'm very thankful about that. Not yet, at least, because like if it was, I'd be in big fucking trouble.
It is in Canada, but yeah, but now the left is like, oh, so they say you need to comply now, but what happened January 6th? So you just give ammo for the left. Conservatives, stop. Like Republicans always find a way to snatch defeat out of the hands of victory. Like they're like, oh shit, we're winning. Let's do something fucking stupid. And that's concerned. That's the back the blue no matter who. Look, man, I back the police. I think society needs police. I'm not an anti-police guy. But we need to hold the police to a higher standard. And look, well, we're risking. Look, man, it's the same argument I have for the military. Well, what'd you do to honor your country? I'm like, motherfucker, I'm sorry, dude. You took a job, you got paid, now you get free education and shitty healthcare. That was the exchange. I could have gone to the military just as easy. Look, man, if you volunteer for the military, you don't take a paycheck. That's when I'm like, all right, yeah. You know what? Thank you for your service. But at the end of the day, man, it's a job. You're taking a job for crazy good benefits. You just are. Like you get free education. I'm sorry, dude, the GI Bill and everything. I understand. And look, man, the military is a paid position. Being a police officer is a paid position. Being a teacher is a paid position. That doesn't mean that society owes you an extra debt of gratitude to even a janitor. Why? Because everybody plays their role. If there's no janitor, you have some dirty fucking facilities. There's no police officer, you got a lot of crime. If there's no military, you got a fucking country that's going to fall apart. They all serve their role, but they're all paid positions. So I never understand that whole thank a veteran. It's like, hey, how about the guy who's out in the field at a steel mill and he fucking gets his arm chopped off because he's providing steel to build your fucking car and keep America running. He's doing as much for the country as anybody. What about a business owner who employs hundreds of people? I never understood, and I might piss people off, but I never understood the whole like victimhood and the entitlement of veterans, police officers, and teachers. You go into that knowing the risks.
Well,
maybe I'm wrong.
And you know, like I was in the military for a couple of years. I never talk about it because it's not something I even like. I would proudly defend my country, but I stood watch. Absolutely. I was nobody special. You know what I mean? Like it's always amazing to me how everybody that's on camera all of a sudden was a SEAL or something like that. It's fucking crazy. Right? I stood watch, bro. I'm sure you can imagine ADHD in the military is not cool. Like, I mean, it's not good. It's not a good thing.
You must have had to fucking scrub the floors.
Oh, dude. Especially because like back then, like I was young, so I wasn't as well adjusted as I am now. I know that sounds fucked up, but this is well adjusted, right? And but it's the same thing. It's all why are we so like these government positions can't do anything wrong? And I understand people are like, well, teachers, it's the Department of Education. That's the government, right? We should question everything about the government, everything, including the teachers, the Department of Education, cops, everything. We should question everything about it. They should be held to such a high standard. And this just kind of goes to prove it. Those guys had the way that those guys acted, they knew they were on body cam. They knew it was that they were going to be seen doing this. There's no way that if they weren't thinking about like the ramifications, they're idiots and shouldn't be cops anyway. And if they were thinking about the ramifications, they didn't give a fuck. And I'm not saying that he was not at fault. Especially if it was like a school zone or something like that, yeah, he should actually fucking possibly be in quite a bit of trouble. But now all they have done is make so every black person that gets pulled over in Miami is going to be fucking on eggshells, ready to fucking pop off. And that's not how you want this shit. Like, we need to come together as a people if we're going to save like America. Like, and this any type of divisiveness on that nature in that way just works against the goal of this, you know? And I agree with you. Like I say it all the time, man. You have talked about it for years. Like the Republicans find a way to fuck shit up. Like you motherfuckers find a way to lose. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it ever.
It's actually kind of impressive. Like how do you fuck up such a conversation?
Yeah.
I mean, how you fuck that? Oh, here it is. Here's Reggie Ray. Let's win. So if Tyreek was white, this wouldn't even be a conversation. I actually think it would, because there was a huge conversation when that pro golfer got arrested and he didn't get slammed to the ground. So that was a huge cut. People were very pissed off, claiming the cops overstepped their boundaries and the cops got in trouble. All Tyreek had to do was comply. Oh, just like 2020, Reggie, let's talk. Reggie, you want to come on? We got 20 minutes. You want to come on and talk about it? I would love to discuss. And if you do, we'll put the link right there in the chat and you can discuss this with us, because
you have to have your camera on. You have to have your camera on your face, no covering your face up.
Then you get what you deserve. So when I didn't comply with a mask mandate, which was unconstitutional in 2020, should the cops have been allowed to slam me to the floor on hot pavement? Tell me that, Reggie. Terrible take. No, Reggie, you're a terrible take. Like your brain is just so fixated on the cops being infallible, on this whole, like, if anybody is a serviceman or a woman, or whether it's civil. And look, man, I respect the military. Again, we need the military. It's a fucking hard job. I didn't do it. I'm not saying, I'm not, but to think that once you're gone you have a lifelong pass, or when you're there you have a lifelong pass to be an asshole. It's like, oh, you don't know what it's like. Well, you don't know what it's like to have to deal with fucking business lawsuits. Like,
yeah, no shit.
Okay, and how many? And I'm doing my part. If everybody was in the military, who the fuck would run the country, run the economy? Like, we have to look at it that way. Again, a janitor, a food service person. Everybody in America has their place, and there's a reason why we give the military such great benefits, because no one's doing it for free. And no, if he was white, people would care. People would care. Again,
it was egregious, dude. Like the throwing of the ground, thrown to the ground. Like, it's just, I would have much rather them pulled the fucking taser out and been like, comply. You know what I mean? Because I'm serious, because that's a de-escalation. That is not actual physical violence, and everybody's safe. Get out of the car. I'm going to tase you. You turn around, put your hands behind your back, or I'm going to tase you. Are we good? Blah blah blah. It's like, I mean, and you're a big man. When I was 100 pounds bigger than now, I can't tell you how many times we'd be out at like my wife and I would be out, and like dudes would want to start shit just because I was bigger. Like it's, sometimes these dudes get in their head, like they get on a little power trip and they want to fuck with the big guy, right? And it's like,
yep.
It happens, So maybe that played a portion of it. Maybe the fact that he was in a fucking car that most of those dudes couldn't afford ever, like shit like that. There's so many factors. Of course, them pulling him over speeding, going 60 and 20, I'd imagine that is kind of irking to a cop. But at the same time, the police are to serve and protect, right? They
Yes.
basically, if they hurt this man, they're all going to lose their jobs, and he's going to sue the fuck out of Miami. Like, if they hurt him at all,
Yeah. I mean, look, man.
This is a great point right here. This is a great point right here.
Yeah.
If they're doing this to a high profile person, how do you think they're going to treat other people? Exactly.
Just like worse. I mean, that's what scares me. This is with body cam. We can only imagine what happened back in the day. And again, so our friend Izzo says all cops are bad. Like, and he used to be a cop. He said it in his last Instagram. I don't agree. I definitely don't agree. But I believe that it's really hard for good cops to exist now, because a lot of the good ones got pushed out. The people who have said no and didn't comply with the mandates. Yep. And once they got pushed out, like, we're left with the people who do whatever the state tells them to do. We're left with a bunch of statists. Well, they're basically, again, not all counties. Not all. But if you're in a city, there's a 99% chance your cops are like this, right? If you're in a big city, New York, well, not even New York. I know a lot of base New York cops who didn't partake in what they did. But, for the most part, we've lost it. Like, they weeded out the cops who are independent thinkers and who will not uphold tyranny. And right now, the dangerous part is that if we do elect the wrong people and our government does fall, the cops will kill their neighbors. That used to be my thing. I used to think that no way would local police do this. And now there is no doubt in my mind that the government said, if someone's not wearing a mask, if they're not doing this, that, you know what, we're going to have to end them, unalive them. And the cops would do it.
Well, if Kamala, that's how I'm going to say her name all night, Kamala, in honor of Donald. But if her and like Warnick, whatever his fucking name is, they're talking about mandatory gun buyback. I mean,
what happened if they do that?
Oh, they are literally threatening civil war. They really
Well, the
are.
states won't. A lot of states will just not comply. So if states don't comply with the feds, I want to ask you, Alan, what happens when the states don't comply with the feds?
Freedom.
Civil war. Civil war, because the cops are, I mean, I'm sorry, the local states, which have a lot of cops who aren't these cops that I'm talking about, the states that are upholding their laws because they are not going to uphold an unconstitutional edict, they're going to be like, no, we're not doing it. Feds are going to come in. What happens is feds send their agents to a town and the sheriff's like, get the fuck out of our town, bro. They're like, no, we're coming in. We're the feds. We have jurisdiction. And then the local guys are like, nah, try. And they come in, and let's say you have one hot finger on either side, and it erupts. It would be the shot heard around the world. And next thing you know, we're in a hot civil war.
So, excuse me. So we're
both trying to put it up.
The mainstream media is busy bashing and trashing Trump while trying to downplay Harris' faults and failures. Take a quick look and see for yourself. It's that I don't need to look. It's been that way for, I mean, to tell you how bad it is, like if you're not aware, like they kicked Trump off of social media and refused to let him speak on any type of media. If he wouldn't have started his own Truth Social, and if X wouldn't have been purchased and Rumble wouldn't have started to rise to power a little bit, they had completely silenced Trump, and they were just able to say whatever they wanted about him. That's why a lot of these fucking loonbag leftists, they think they're like, he's an insurrectionist. Like, I will say one more time, if you bitches want to see what an insurrection looks like, cheat again. But that was not an insurrection. Okay, if you think that the people that own the vast majority of the firearms in America show up without the firearms to try to overthrow the government, you are super fucking stupid. Like you're talking fall outdoor temperature IQ. Like that is that dumb. Like,
so I have a question for you, Alan.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with pro Kamala people like Mark Cuban? What do you think's happened to Mark Cuban?
I think he's leveraging himself into making sure he stays a billionaire.
Yes, I don't think he actually believes what he's saying. There's no way he can. Take it as for a grain of salt.
You can't be I don't believe it. I don't believe any billionaire is actually not a conservative. I just think that they're conservative for themselves. They become a world entity. Like Mark Cuban and like Elon Musk and people like that, they've got enough money where they could buy small countries and shit. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so they're in it for themselves. They're not. It's not on the same playing field as us, right? Like people can consider somebody that is worth like $5 million rich, like rich. That is literally like like an accounting error that happens fairly often for these people. I mean, when you
can retire easily you can retire easily on $5 million,
right? And like these people are worth like shit. What Elon's worth like $250 billion. Like he's worth a quarter. Like there's a strong chance he's gonna be the first ever trillionaire before it's over. You know, think about the size of that, and that doesn't even include like what a lot of people don't even understand. That doesn't even like if Elon's rich as fuck, richest man in the world, but BlackRock makes him look like nothing.
Yes,
like BlackRock makes Elon look like we look to Elon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, so I just look at it like, or Mark Cuban could just enjoy trolling. Have you ever considered he might just be so bored with his success that he likes playing the villain? Like the shit he says, and again, mad respect to Mark Cuban for his business accomplishments. And I'm not by any means insulting him as a person. I'm just kind of pondering because I don't know where his mind is. Like, I say some shit online that people take seriously that in my mind, I think is so absurd that people know I'm joking. But in reality, a lot of people are like, I can't believe you believe that. I'm like, I don't. I'm trolling. You know, like I'm sarcastic. So maybe it's his version of trolling the shit out of people.
Maybe. I can see it possibly. I do think a huge portion that's driving this is possibly even slight jealousy of Elon a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, because Mark Cuban was beloved for a while. Like people loved him. You know what I mean? For a good like decade. You know, but then like he kind of fell out of favor. I don't have no idea why. But it seems like he might be slightly jealous of Elon too. I don't know. And I'm not talking jealous about the money, because once you get into the billionaires of dollars, I mean, it's more money than you even fucking think about. And I don't think that Mark Cuban is like the Zuckerberg. Like, I'm sure he's got nice toys, but I do think he's more like the Elon billionaire, where it's like, it's about the challenge of making the money, not what the money can buy. Which is how it should be anyway. Like, live simply, but make money, you know? I just don't know. Like, I mean, that's a great question though. I have nothing super against Cuban. Like, I think some of his takes are fucking stupid. And just like you said, they could be trolling, but I don't know. I think a lot of people I think a lot of people on the left and the right are just grifting like fuck. Like right now, like all just like, it's a huge like, melee. And a lot of people on the right, like a lot of the pundits on the right, which I'm a firm believer, like, we need all new political pundits, right? I find it amazing how Tim Pool, Luke Rakowski, me, you, a bunch of other people have been talking about health pretty consistently for like 3 or 4 years, right? Like, hey, if we want to get over this shit, we got to be healthy, right? And all of a sudden, now that RFK Jr., like all of a sudden that Maha's coming, like make America healthy again is coming up. Now they're all talking about it too. Like, bitches, you were silent as fucking church mice, you know, like for years. And now you're talking about it. It's like they'll hop onto the next grift. Like, that's the one thing I'm proud of both you and I about. And one of the reasons why we started doing this podcast is because our stances have not changed. Like, our stances may have evolved with new information, but our stances have not changed. And these people change stances on a lot of shit, like a lot of shit on both the left and the right.
I mean, if you look at like a lot of the conservative or liberal pundits, a lot of them used to be on the other side. Oliver Darcy, I think Dave Rubin was more of a leftist from Daily Wire. I mean, so you have these. So how much of it is believing in a message and how much of it is simply grifting? Do you really believe that all these hot, big titty, right-wing conservative females are just, do you think they just became conservative and started talking about it because they truly believed in the message? And I'm not stating one thing or another. Or do you believe that they simply did that because there was a market for big titty conservative hot chick influencers,
right?
And they could differentiate themselves. So, for example, I just did a short on this for Instagram. It was cut out of a longer video, but when I go, like, I win a lot of business through differentiation. So I know what I'm talking about. I can present. I'm very good at business. You've been in meetings with me, and I'm not being cocky. I'm being confident. I've closed a lot of deals.
It's super impressive. You're doing what you're meant to do, for real.
So the thing is, if you read a book, it's called Positioning by Al Ries and Jack Trout, and they have a positioning book that's meant to position the brand of you, not an actual brand. So if you look at differentiation, so you look at when you market a product, you want two things. There's two things in marketing a product. You look at positioning, what your position is in the marketplace. Then you look at differentiation. How are you differentiating from your competitors? So my differentiation is the fact that I'm a pro bodybuilder, that I fill out my polo shirts. And I know that sounds, really kind of like shallow, but when you go into a meeting, you want to be memorable. You want to stick in their mind. I had 40 meetings over the last 2 days. Okay. The people I remember were the ones who had a distinct characteristic or presentation style, or the people who had something about them that stood out. There's no other person doing what I'm doing at the scale that I'm doing who is in the shape that I am, other than maybe my business partner, Mike. So we go out there and, it's just a very impressive point of differentiation that really helps us in achieving our goals and helps us in actually, getting our points across, because we've already got your attention. They're going to remember us. Oh, who is that? I really like that 2:00. Oh, that big. Oh, yeah. ambrosia.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So you need to find a way to differentiate. So my question is, on that note, going in a roundabout way, how many of these people are just really smart marketers? How many of them actually believe what they say? For us to do this podcast, it's actually potentially detrimental to what we do. But
Yeah.
we do it because it's who we are, it's what we believe in. But how many people say something simply to follow what they would call a grift or a market differentiation or a position? And I
Mhm.
think one of the best at it, who does great at trending, and is Isabella DeLuca. I think
Yeah.
and I'm not saying she doesn't believe what she says, but like she goes on the carnivore diet, and next thing you know, and she used to have like baking cakes, and now she's sitting there, cleavage showing. She's a
Mhm.
gorgeous girl, and she's eating a stick of butter, and I love it. I love her. I love her. I think she's one of those captivating accounts. And I'm like, dude, she gets it. Like, she is getting this engagement farming. She's getting all these clicks, all these people up in arms over a pretty girl with big boobs eating butter. I think she's genius. Like, I
Yeah.
want to be on her team because her brain, I don't think people realize she might be one of the smartest people on the internet because she can get her point across. But at the
Mhm.
same time, you need in order to get your point across. So Greg Doucette does this. He makes his voice high pitch. When I do my
Mhm.
YouTube videos, I say boom, because on YouTube I'm just another fucking meathead. In the business world,
Mhm.
an educated meathead. So
Right.
Greg Doucette has literally done videos that he did A/B testing, and the high pitched voice got more views and more view time.
Smart.
So in order to get the message across, you have to get people to watch it. So that's why I think I think she actually does, believe in conservative values. I do believe she does want to find a husband and be a stay-at-home mom. I think that's great. But in order to get that message across, she stands out and she differentiates because I mean, let's be real, like pretty people get attention and she's pretty as fuck.
Yeah. I think that you know, I think it's like a 50-50 mix. I tend more to wonder about uh the the guy political pundits, like do they really believe in what they believe in more than the women? It's weird because
Yeah.
I can see women being completely fed up with the pussification of men. Like I can
Yes.
see a lot of the big tittied women. I can see them just being like, what the fuck, you know? But a lot of the dudes are kind of pussies, you know, and I just think that I, I I don't mind it because like they put it out there, but if I call you controlled opposition or I say you don't really believe in it, that's what I really believe, you know. Somebody asked me
Mhm.
today, like, would I ever work with Daily Wire? Like, I would be on any show. I'd be on CNN. I wouldn't give a fuck, right? But do I think that they're genuine? Not all of them. Do I think some of them? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there's like, it's not the entire fucking company, but there's a reason why they rose to power when other people didn't, you know? And yeah, there it is.
This one's amazing. She's eating raw meat. Like this is genius. She found the carnivore thing. She's like, I'm gonna try it out. And she found like there's a carnivore people. So now she has a ton of carnivore followers. She
Yeah.
finds a way to gain new followers. What's her following at? Let's see if I can click over this. She's at 394 nearly 1,000 followers. But listen to this. She's sitting there. Bro, she's just eating raw meat. That's fucking amazing.
That's awesome.
I do. I give, again, I'm not pointing her out to insult her. I'm pointing her out
No.
because I'm trying to demonstrate something for you guys. I'm trying to demonstrate for you guys that if you want to be successful in this world, you need to differentiate yourself. Find something you're good at, double, triple, quadruple down on it, and just go in. And when you
Mhm.
find that, you find new ways to get people's attention, to get people to view your stuff. Because again, if you have a message that you really want to get out, I sincerely believe that she wants to get this conservative woman message out.
I do too. Yeah.
And what other way is she going to do it? Her
Right.
assets are her beauty and her ability to, to type things. Or would you do this one?
AdSense.
Oh,
Because they're
well,
titties instead of ass.
well, so Alan's okay. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. Like, again, I'm monogamous, love my wife, would never venture out, but
Mhm.
I do appreciate the female form,
Oh, so
and
do I.
there's nothing wrong with that. I think the female,
She's an
she's a
attractive
handsome
woman.
woman. So
Shit, my
so
wife
like
would say my wife would say she's an attractive woman.
so
Like,
the females are just gorgeous, and I will say that
mhm,
unequivocally. I don't find males attractive because I'm not gay, and if I was gay,
mhm,
I'd be like, yeah, dude's that dude's hot. But I just don't. I don't see men like women were created in this beautiful mold. Like
mhm,
women are so gorgeous. Like and there's something about like the way God created woman. If I'm sorry, Alan, if you believe in God, the way the primordial ooze created woman is that think about the
or
woman's body.
aliens, or aliens. I mean, it could be aliens.
Well, no, think about it. Now, I'm not trying to be weird, but the vagina is literally the birth canal to life. Like you go from being a being that is surviving off of the mother's body, so their body can sustain another life in it. It passes through the birth canal, and it comes out a living, breathing baby. And then God gave women breasts, which can sustain the baby's nutrition with the perfect nutritional profile, not
Hmm.
created in a lab, created by God to feed and sustain this child. How can you, and also, God made those same body parts that are so versatile. He made it where men really appreciate vagina and boobs. So, I mean, and also everything about women, the way they smell, their hair, like women are just amazing. I love women. I'm a feminist. I love women. I love them to death. Like that's why I treat my life like a goddess. Well, I mean, a goddess who I've been with for 27 years, September 30th. 27. What's 97? I don't I think it's 27. Hold on. Wait, I gotta do the
Yep,
math. We're getting so old. It
it's
is.
27. Mhm.
Oh my God, we're old. But I mean, look, man, like it's okay, and we talk about this all the time. It's okay to worship your wife. It's okay
Oh my
to
God,
think
yeah.
your wife is a goddess. There's nothing simpy about that. Like, get over that
No,
shit.
yeah.
27, yeah. I just had to make sure. I didn't trust your math. But yeah, it's
What the
bro, you have ADHD. You could have seen a squirrel, gotten like two numbers off.
math?
But like,
Math is what I do.
but dude, think about it. Like, if you're married to a woman, and I love these times we have nothing to talk about. We're just killing time before a debate.
Right.
So if you have a wife, like, and you believe in the Bible, like Ephesians 6 does say women obey your husbands, but you got to think about man's role. Man's role is to provide, protect, and to
Hmm.
serve their woman. Whereas women, they're there to support the man being able to do all that stuff. And I just, I'm a fan of the woman. All the women here, props, and all the men here. You're not going to be perfect because you're human, right? But like, do your best to be a good man to your woman,
Yeah.
and don't fall for this whole manosphere. Like, oh, you just churn through bitches; they're not worthy of your time. Shut up. That's not the way. The thing is,
No,
you got
it's
to be
not.
selective about who you date. Go on the first date. If she's not the one, maybe her body count's too high. I know that's a thing now. Whatever. Move on. And once you find that right woman, you do your best to keep that woman. That doesn't mean doing stupid things. People get played, people get used. But like if you can actually sustain a relationship, like the fact that I've been with my wife 27 years, I've made a lot of fucking mistakes. But for the most part, for a woman and a man to be together that long, there has to be an understanding of your roles in the household. And your roles might be
Of
different than
course.
my roles,
Right.
but you have to understand and respect each other and what you choose to do and what you wish your roles to be within the parameters of your relationship.
Well, it's very weird. Like the manosphere people, like you
Oh my
guys are
god.
fucking anti. You guys are anti-society, if you ask me. Like, because well, you are because like how do we think we're going to propagate the race? Like you guys think you're so like worthy of everything when most of you are pieces of shit anyway. I mean, the it's kind of crazy to me. One of them was I was talking about how I cooked dinner, and one of these manosphere guys was like, "Oh, you're a simp. You cook dinner." Like, motherfucker. Like I cook for my family because I love my family. I want to make, like, to me that's providing. Like I will make sure. Now I couldn't tell you how the fucking washing machine works. Like, I don't even fucking know that the dials aren't.
My wife
like,
won't let me do laundry. She has a system.
yeah.
I try
Well,
to
so
do it. I'm like,
yeah.
dude, I'll get home from a trip. I'm like, don't worry about it. You got to take care of the house. I've been out fucking selling shit. Like, I got this. She's like, don't fucking
Yeah.
touch the laundry. I'm like, cool. No problem. She gets it in by the next
problem.
morning. I got clean clothes. The shit, like, this shirt needs to be hung because it's a nice polo. I'm like, that's going to be hung on the clothes dryer. We have one of those in-house ones. It's like, here's what I don't understand. I want your opinion on this before the debate starts.
Yeah.
So a lot of these manosphere guys, they're against wifing up women who have a high body count. Yet at the same time, they're pro men sleeping with a lot of women. I don't understand that. I think all of us should hold sex sacred.
It's massively hypocritical, just incredibly massive. Like, if I was women, I would, if I was women, I would say, oh, I don't want a guy with a high body count. What the fuck are they going to do now?
How is
Like,
it? I don't see how it's different. Is it because one's an innie and one's an outie? I don't understand, because you're still, participating in sexual acts. I don't understand, and I'm the same with whether I have a daughter or a son. I'm like, I understand that you're young, you have hormones, and I understand if it does happen to happen, here's what you need to do to make sure nothing bad happens. However, if you can hold yourself out until you find that special someone you think you're going to marry, or until you're married, you're going to be in a much better place mentally, spiritually, and your relationship with that person, because sex becomes just whatever. If you have sex with everybody, sex just becomes an act. When if you save yourself for that special someone, sex becomes sacred. And that's how I approach it with my children, is that I was like, look, man, you're gonna find that special someone, and we had the talk when you were like 11, like, what's gonna happen, but I know you're a teenager, but just make sure that you understand that you might crush your entire ability to have that connection with somebody one day, because you have basically made sex into a material, just casual thing. I'm against casual sex. Again, like, if you want to have casual sex, you do you, or whoever else you want to do. But I just think that, not having that double standard for girls and for guys. And that's why I don't like Myron Gaines is a good friend of mine. I love him to death. But like, he'll be on talking about body count, women and whores and this and that. And I'm just like, Mr. Hardcock. What a great name. I got to change my name so I can start. You could comment all you want, Mr. Hardcock. I'm guessing that's his I guess he took that name from his father. I'm guessing that's a paternal name. But yeah, I think that, I think that just spreading the message of the fact that, sex is sacred, that making love should be making love. I think that's fine. And it's, I don't understand it. But Myron, he'll be like, she's a whore, this and that and the third. And I'm like, well, you sleep with many women. I don't get it. Yeah. And next time on his show, I'll ask him. Yeah. Are they starting this yet?
They're starting. So, whoops.
Oh, hi, Isabella. She's still eating beef.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn this volume on, and I'll be right back.
ABC News Special. The most consequential moment of this campaign. Kamala Harris.
Together, we will chart a new way forward.
All right, here we go, guys.
Donald Trump.
We will soon be a great nation again.
Face to face. Historic. The ABC News presidential debate. Here now, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Let's go.
Good evening, I'm David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight.
I'm wondering if
Vice
YouTube
President Kamala Harris and
access.
President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage.
Then we're not monetized anyway. Who gives a fuck?
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for two candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice
He
President
chooses
Harris
her to
selected the
kick off.
podium to the right.
Kamala gets
So
the
let's
ball.
now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala
Oh,
Harris
shit, they're
and
just kicking it
President
right off.
Donald Trump.
No foreplay or nothing. Are
Kamala
they
Harris.
shaking hands?
Let's have a good debate.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
She was
President
elected.
Biden,
When it
dumb
comes to
fuck.
the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle class kid, and I am actually
Sure.
the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American
is it?
people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for
Get rid of all the
far too many
illegals.
people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending
million homes
a
open up.
tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to startup small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in
Trump
about
dye his hair?
$4,000 more a year.
He looks good.
Because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been
Why do they
a
cut to her?
disaster
Why
for
do- why
people,
does-
for the middle class, but for every
Yeah,
class.
it's weird.
On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and
Fact.
insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald
Because
Trump
he brought
left
it?
us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Really?
And what we have done
Says the person nobody ever voted for.
What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight
She just did it.
is
That
a
is literally name
detailed
calling.
and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again.
He literally has denounced
I
it.
believe very
Oh my
strongly that the
God.
American
Such
people
a lie.
want a president who understands the importance
What a cunt.
of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm
Some
an
good,
open book.
some bad.
Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that
really?
Donald
Goldman
Trump's
Sachs?
plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald
why aren't you
Trump's
doing it?
plan would actually
She's in office
explode
right now.
the deficit.
Who's
16
running the
Nobel
country
laureates
now?
have
Where's
described
Biden?
his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the
Nobel
middle
laureates.
of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices?
Is he going to
because
state
of
that
tariffs?
she's
Not
actually in
gonna have
office
higher
now?
prices. What's going to have and
no.
who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do
Yeah,
want to ask
he's
for your response,
right.
and you heard what the president said
Yep.
there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he
she's
ended
not gonna
up
answer the
selling
question.
American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making
the
sure
borders
the
are.
United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies,
say
focusing
she's
on
doing better than
investing in
Biden.
American-based technology
Yeah.
so that we win
But
the
she's
race
speaking
on
complete
AI, on
bullshit.
quantum computing, focusing on what we need
Yeah,
to
but it
do
doesn't
to
matter.
support
Everybody's
America's
gonna think their guy
workforce
won.
so that we
This
don't
debate's
end up
pointless.
having on the short
Yep.
end of the
This debate
stick
means
in
jack
terms of
shit, bro.
workers' rights. But
means
what
very
Donald
little.
Trump
You're right.
did,
Very,
let's
very
talk
little.
about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you
Oh,
respond.
wait.
First of all,
So-
they
so
bought
it's-
the
so it's
chips
in a lab
from
now?
Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because
Oh
of
my God.
philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly,
Stay on
it's,
it.
I believe,
Stay on it.
21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump.
Yep.
Thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted
God,
that you were
why?
able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job.
I think he's
the
talking about
governor
Virginia.
before. He said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened.
Yes.
Happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President.
Yeah, but that's not the point, you stupid cunt.
Well, as I
They
said, you're
wanted
going to hear a
to.
bunch of lies.
What-
and that's
she
not
should-
actually
she should
a
not add
surprising
that.
fact. Let's
She's a
understand
moderator.
how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention
what Supreme
that they
Courts
would
are. They're
undo the
hand-selected.
protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body
The thing
next. That
is-
is immoral.
The states should be
And
controlling it.
one
The
does
federal
not
government
have
should
to
not be in
abandon
control of
their
our health
faith.
care
No,
at all.
we need
Or
less,
deeply
less-
held
less
beliefs
federal government.
to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her
I'm sick of
body.
this
I have
abortion
talked
shit.
with women
Fucking
around
kill the
our
babies, honestly.
country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
Stop
She didn't
it.
want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge
How much
to you,
incest is going on?
when
where that's
Congress passes a bill to put
Maybe
back
we
in
should
place
stop
the
that.
protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump
I
were
don't
to
like
be
that. It should be
reelected, he
state.
will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion
God.
monitor that would be monitoring
Dude,
your
that's
pregnancies,
unreal.
your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban, because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states. And the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well, I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea, and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss
That was
it
a mistake.
because she'd never be able to
What
get
I
it,
missed.
just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student
He
loans.
just
They
said, I
even
didn't,
come close to
he
getting
just,
student
she just
loans.
said, J.D.
They
Vance
taunted
said this,
young
that you said
people
this. He said,
and
I
a lot
didn't
of
talk
other
to J.D.
people that
about it.
had
That's a
loans.
mistake.
They can never get
don't
this
know. I
approved.
mean,
so it
how are
doesn't
they gonna
matter
talk
what she
about
says
every
about
issue?
going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you
That's
your time
democracy.
to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America
But what are
is
the
a
restrictions?
woman
You didn't answer the
carrying a
question.
pregnancy to
Make her
term
answer the
and,
fucking
and
question, you
asking
stupid
for
bitch.
an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray
This should not be an issue.
and dream of having a family are being
They're sticking
denied
on this as if
IVF
it's
treatments.
not. It's in.
What is
it's
happening
so
in our
ridiculous.
country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can
Unreal.
barely afford childcare as it is.
Why can they barely
have to
afford
travel to
childcare?
another state to get
your
on a
economy
plane
sucks,
sitting
woman.
next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why is her mic
That's the
on?
problem.
Would you
because
veto?
under Roe
Why
v.
is her
Wade,
mic on?
you could do abortions
She
in the
just raised
7th
her
month,
mic.
the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and
never-
border
she
security.
never
We know it's
answered
an
it.
issue that's important to
She
Republicans,
never answered, and they
Democrats,
left her
voters
mic
across
on
the
when he was
board, in this
talking.
country.
I mean, they
Vice
broke their own
President
rule.
Harris, you were tasked by President
Unreal.
Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June,
I can't believe they're
President
talking about
Biden
it.
imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly.
No,
But
they're
my
just setting
question
her
to
up.
you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the traffic. United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill
Did it just
which
skip?
I supported.
It did.
And that bill would have put
Was that on
1,500
us?
more
Did we
border
fuck it up?
agents
I
on the
didn't touch
border to
anything.
help
No.
those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again.
Was that us?
No.
Are you sure it's not the internet? Did they just freeze?
Well, I can hear you.
Let me check on my end. Wait, hold on. PBS is working. I'm gonna
switch over.
Pull this one up. Yep, I'm on it. Which one's mine? This one. Hold on. Let me unmute it. 1 second. Sorry, guys, we didn't do it.
Maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
So they're fact checking him?
You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement
That's not a brag, bitch.
Former Vice
That's
President
not a brag.
Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And
they're
if
going
you want to really know the
to
inside
endorse
track
the
on
party of
who
war.
the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people, not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime.
Something at the
it
end?
was a fraud. Just like their number of
This is exactly how I thought it was gonna be on
818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address
That you
what we must
caused.
do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly,
you
the
caused.
American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice
You're
President
in
Harris.
office.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his
Fact
political
check her,
enemies.
guys.
Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons.
Well,
Now your
they're giving her an
campaign
opportunity
says
to
you don't.
adjust her
You
record.
supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams.
What work?
My values have
they
not
speak in such
changed.
generalities. It's
And
not
what
even
is
fucking worth it
important is
almost.
that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down. And name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually
She just called him a
understands
felon.
the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well,
response?
first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it.
It's hard to
She
speak
gave up
perfect.
at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out in the
This
Capitol
is
that day,
such
the officers
fucking
coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? What are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just ask you,
David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted?
Yes.
Or in Seattle?
Yes.
They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
but let me just ask
You might ask her that
You
question.
were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election.
Oh, he
Is
has
there
to answer
anything
questions,
you
but
regret
she doesn't.
about what you did on that day? Yes or
I
no?
had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
God,
I was at the Capitol on
it's
January 6th.
so
I was
fucking
the vice
one-sided. It's
president-elect.
insane.
I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack
Didn't.
our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand,
None of them died.
the former president
None of
has
them
been
died.
indicted and impeached.
Nobody died. She's
for
lying about
exactly
everything.
that reason.
But midwits don't
But
know
this
that.
is not an isolated
No.
situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob
Are-
of people carrying tiki
Are we going to go with this?
torches,
Are we serious?
spewing anti-Semitic hate.
Oh, we're going
And
anti-Jew
what
now.
did the president then at the time say?
Oh, she's doing it.
There
She's
were
going
fine
there.
people on each side.
Oh my God.
Let's remember that when it came
Second
to
debate
Proud
in
Boys,
a
a
row.
militia, the president
wrong with a
said, the
militia, by
former
the way?
president said, stand back
Yeah.
and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand
It wasn't.
for country.
It was a bridge too
to
short.
stand for our democracy, to stand for rule
You motherfuckers
of law,
cheated. We should have held you
and to
accountable.
end the chaos,
Yeah.
and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be
Attacking
clear,
the foundations of our
on that
democracy, says the
point,
person nobody ever
Donald
voted
Trump,
for.
the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not
He's
go
doing
back.
a much better
Let's
job.
chart a course
Yeah.
for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide.
He
In the
did.
past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said,
He
quote,
did.
you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm. Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it.
Oh, look,
and we should just
he's
point out
making
here
a
as
statement
clarification,
now.
and you know this. You and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge
Republican,
looked at it.
and said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have
Trump
a
is
nation
against
that is
both
dying,
Dude
David.
and Kamala,
Mr.
and
President,
he's
thank
killing
you.
it.
Vice President Harris,
I think he's doing
you
very
heard the
well.
president there tonight. He
Me
said
too.
he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself.
The majority of
But I
America
do want to
believes
ask
he
you
didn't
about
lose, by the
something
way.
that's come up in the last couple of days.
Really?
This was a post from
In the
President
poll,
Trump
in polls, the
about this
majority of
upcoming
America thinks
election.
I didn't see
just
that.
weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences.
They should
One
be.
of your
And
campaign's
prison
top lawyers
sentences
responded
aren't
saying,
the
we
actual
won't let
punishment
Donald
for
Trump
treason.
intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very
Joe
difficult
Biden
needs to
got
bring up-
81 million votes.
He
But
needs to
we
bring
cannot
up
afford to have a president
why
of the
she was
United
never
States
elected. He needs to bring that up.
who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But
Mr.
he
President.
got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm
President,
okay with it
Mr.
because
President, your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7th,
Here we go.
Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed, children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal, and we need the hostages
You're in
out.
office, you
And so we will
stupid
continue
bitch.
to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money.
Terror.
It was a big story, and you know it. You
I love
covered
how
it
Trump
very
talks.
well, actually.
Terror.
They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known
Donald Trump is weak
that he
on foreign
admires
policy.
dictators wants to be a
Get the
dictator on
fuck
day
outta
one,
here.
according to himself. It is well
Get the
known
fuck
that
outta
he
here.
said of Putin that he
Are
can
you
do
fucking
whatever
kidding
the
me?
hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It
He
is
had
well
world
known
peace.
that he said when Russia went
The
into
Abrams
Ukraine,
Accords?
it
What
was
the fuck?
brilliant. It is well
you gotta
known
be a
he
fucking
exchanged
moron to believe
love
that.
letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can
Putin
manipulate you
endorsed Kamala.
with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Want to mute it for a second?
Yeah.
The
Well,
ABC News.
There we go. I mean, what
Oh,
the
you-
fuck, man? It's like,
I think.
I go ahead.
Oh, you muted me.
I did?
Yeah.
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, but that thing's still going. Oh, it's on mine. Oh shit. Ah,
Yeah.
Coverage
I'm
with
in charge
no
now.
contract.
Hold on. I'm so lost. It's been a long day.
It's okay,
All
man.
right.
You've been fucking at it.
So, my take. So, I just tweeted this, dude. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, I'm reading around Twitter. The Democrats think Kamala's winning. The Republican thinks Trump's winning. You know, it's just standard bullshit. Everybody's so tribal. It doesn't fucking matter. People
No,
have their mind. There's no longer a country where debates matter. I mean, the
No,
only
I
reason
agree.
Biden, it would have been the same with Biden. And even when Biden lost his shit, like Democrats were still like, no, bro, he won. I mean, oh, Biden destroyed him. Trump's losing it. Dude, none of this shit matters. It doesn't matter. This is theatrics. This is bullshit. This is ratings. Has nothing to do with how people are voting. And the moderators need to be tarred and feathered and kicked out of the country.
So what I wanted to ask you is, did you want to wrap for tonight so you can get some rest, and we can just watch the rest of it?
I'm not.
We're sitting here watching it.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't give a fuck. And I apologize, everybody, but it's the same bullshit. You know, you have two moderators fucking with Kamala. They're literally debating Trump. Kamala can say an outright lie, like the very fine people thing. And they're like, they don't even fucking say, hey, Kamala, by the way, even Snopes, a leftist fucking checking site, said it's bullshit. It's just, I'm at the point now where I'm done listening to shit and I'm just going to preach about what's good. At the end of the day, this is so Kevin S. says, my impression so far is Trump gets to C, Kamala gets to B. He's coming out as way too temperamental. Kevin, that's your opinion. That's cool. He's standing there stoic. He's making points. He's being very stern. She's over there making funny faces. You know, and all these ads on PBS, they're all pro Kamala. This is the second one where it's pro Kamala. So I'm at the point now where it's like, I don't know, Kevin, what debate you're watching, but Kamala's over there, and Frank Luntz just tweeted, the only way she can win is if she stops with all the facial gestures and learns how to control that. because it's basically stereotyping women as emotional and uncontrollable. And people are like, oh, that's sexist. No, that's real. Like I said, guys, like I said earlier before this thing started, it's all about optics. And right now, you know, what it's doing is it's essentially okay. So I'm playing baseball and or whatever, and I'm on a team that's losing 3-2. I still think my team is better than the team that's winning, but the team that's winning thinks that their team is winning.
Yeah,
it's all tribal. It's all bullshit. I get it. I mean, it's what we do, but at the end of the day, man, this is all semantics. This is all bullshit. Nobody gives a fuck. Everybody watching this fucking podcast right now, thousands of you guys out there are watching this podcast. So I want to ask you this, Kimberly. Why do you think Trump's full of shit? In my opinion, he's spoken facts. I don't know how he's full of shit. He's basically saying exactly what he did and exactly what he's going to do. I don't think Trump's full of shit. I really don't. And I'm not biased at all. I mean, I'm voting for Trump, but I'll call guys, you know, if anybody who's voting for Trump has been critical of Trump, it's me and this man right here. But guys, this is just so frustrating to watch because everybody's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is.
So what do you say? What do you say we wrap it so you can get some rest, dude? I know you've had a super long day, and I'm gonna sit down with the wife.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna just watch some Pornhub and cry myself to sleep.
All right, man. That sounds like a plan, bro.
That sounds like a plan. But anyway, dude,
send me the link.
So tomorrow I will be on Elijah Schaefer's podcast, so I won't be able to make it. So I'll be. It's been a long time. He's back in the U.S. I'm only 20 minutes from him. And then I fly home Thursday, so I will be making it for the Thursday night rants. So I appreciate you covering for me. It was a well-needed trip. And yeah.
Well, I appreciate everything you do, man.
Got a lot of shit done. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, we really appreciate it. By the way, guys, two things. If you do want to support this channel, we have no advertisers. We've been offered, but we don't do it. So tigerfitness.com, coupon code evening rants gets you 10% off. As well as ambrosiacollective.com, coupon code evening rants gets you 10% off. Buy Ambrosia products. That's how we pay our bills. If you go to ambrosiacollective.com, we got our all new Planta bars, which are absolutely delicious.
Yes, they are. All right, sir. All right. Thank you very much, man. I'll text you in a little bit.
All right. I'll see y'all Thursday.
Bye, all.
Later.